So, thank you for agreeing to be interviewed today. Before we begin, I just want to say that the subject matters, gender identity, sexuality, and sex education are rather sensitive in nature, so if at any point you become uncomfortable, please feel free to refrain from answering the question.
Alright.
How do you identify in terms of sexuality and gender identity?
Sexuality, I identify as a homosexual, and as gender-wise, I identify as a man, so I'm a homosexual man.
Have you ever felt excluded based on your gender and or sexuality, and if so, how?
I never felt as if I was ostracized from who I was, since I was not the usual identifiable type of gay guy. No one ever thought I was gay. I would tell them later, they'd be like, "What? You're gay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, didn't I make it obvious?" I just never felt like I was ostracized for who I was.
Have you ever felt pressured then to conform to gender expectations or stereotypes, and if so, which ones?
Well, I was subject to many of them growing up, because when I was a kid, I was playing with dolls with my cousin, playing around. And my dad walks in and they're like, "No, don't play with that. It's for girls. You shouldn't be playing with that." He takes my hand, takes me away. And that's how I was playing with my cousin, which is drawing random stuff into music, and it was a female singing. And so, again, he told me, like, when she left, like, "Don't listen to that music. It's bad for you. Listen to guys, and listen to like rock music, stuff like that." And then the pressure I got was kind of from society and school, was that I felt as if I needed to be more masculine and not that feminine. So anytime I felt any feminine characteristics kind of appearing from me, I feel like a little ashamed, and as if I had to hold myself back.
When did you first learn about sex?
I first learned about sex in elementary school, maybe third grade, third, fourth, fifth. It was some of the guy friends I hung out with. We talked about myself. I learned what 69 meant, sex, and they asked us to do 69. We're like, we didn't answer because we didn't know what it was. Then they drew it 69, do 69. We're like, yeah. And they're like, "Hi, you're gay." And I'm like, "Why?" Because 69, here's the guy's dick, and here's your face, and here's the other guy's dick. Here's your dick, and here's the guy's face. So you're being gay. And I tell them about that. And we learned the names for vaginas and pussy, coochie, and stuff like that. And that's
so
pretty much all I learned.
More peer-based.
Yeah, it's more peer-based from my parents. I never learned anything from them. They never came to me and talked about it, because I never talked to them about girls since I was pretty much a homosexual guy. Ever since I was a kid, I never got attracted to women as much as I was to men. So I never really talked once, and still don't talk to them about the whole sex.
Alright, so that answered my next question about parents' role. So, what role would you say that schools, be they elementary, middle, high schools, or college, what roles have those had on your sex education?
Sex education, I've had multiple classes of those. 7th, 8th grade, we learned about sex ed class. We were taught about contraceptives, the STIs, gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, AIDS, and then pregnancy, the usual. And then I once talked about gay guys, lesbians, stuff like that. And high school, I had it multiple times, and it was just the same thing. HIV, gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, AIDS, and it was just the same thing. The scare tactics that they tried, and it was just the same methods over and over again.
What is your opinion about that is currently being taught at schools?
Well, currently it's a good tactic in one aspect, but they can also talk about many other aspects about sex, as in the emotional part of it, because sex isn't just a physical thing. There's more emotional into it, because some people use it to get the affection and attraction of another person. They use it as a power thing when they really shouldn't. They should kind of use sex as a way of showing how much they care about a person, and they should kind of dive into more details about regarding sex, different sexuality, and stuff like that.
What do you feel is lacking from sex education, if anything?
As I was saying, they just pretty much teach the face value and pretty much the heterosexual part of it, whereas they have sex, you might get these, so you use condoms, and if you're a woman, there's many contraceptives, the T, the bar, a diaphragm, the female condom, and just pretty much don't get pregnant. And as for guys, kind of just wear condoms and also don't get any STIs. I also need to talk more about gays, lesbians, and kind of different sexualities and kind of gender, so it could kind of help everyone, feel incorporated.
How would you feel then about gender identities and sexualities being talked about or taught in school, like potential consequences, benefits?
I feel as if they should talk about it, since I'm a psych major and I kind of see more of the spectrum taking adolescence class. If they talk about gender and sexuality, it'll incorporate all of these people who feel as if they're ostracized and don't feel part of a community, since it's just all about one culture, cisgendered heterosexuals. So teaching about different genders, male, female, gender neutral, also the pronouns he, she, z. There's some ones I don't know, but there's some other ones. That'd be really good to help others feel incorporated, so they don't kind of have this feeling of everyone that's not liking them. And sexuality, adding gays, lesbians, asexuals, polysexuals, pansexuals, it'll give more diversity and kind of show kids that there's these other things, and if you fit into one of these categories, you're not a weirdo, you're actually human, you're natural for it.
So you pretty much already covered my last question, but I'll ask it anyway in case there's anything else you want to add. But what would you like to see schools incorporate into sex education?
Pretty much that, and adding more the emotional aspect of the power of sex and what can happen during, after, and before sex. And that if someone sees that sex is kind of precious to them, they have the opportunity to say no. It's kind of the way of, they can teach consent. So if a person doesn't feel comfortable with it, they can say no, and the other person has to respect it. So because a person is drunk and they say yes, doesn't really give a full yes. Or if they're passed out, it doesn't mean yes. It's like, no, someone's passed out, that's a no. If someone says no, it's a no. If someone says yes at first, and towards the middle of it, they say no, then it's a no. You just need to stop and respect the other person.
All right. Thank you for your time.